Hey guys, wanted to do a quick video about Taiwan's self-defense. It's really interesting when you read sources like Foreign Policy or The Diplomat, and folks talk about Taiwan's ability to defend itself and the potential for conflict with the People's Republic of China. There's a lot of emphasis, obviously rightly so, placed on missile defense, placed on mines, placed on anti-access systems, placed on the relationship with the United States and the training of troops by the United States. All these things get a lot of coverage. You'll also periodically see emphasis placed on urban warfare and the high degree of urbanization in Taiwan and how that might play into their hands in terms of self-defense, as we've seen in Ukraine and Iraq and other places. I just wanted to make a quick video today to note that I think one of the interesting things about a potential conflict in Taiwan that isn't often talked about, and I'm not really sure why, is the degree to which Taiwan is an incredibly mountainous island. By some measurements, by some ways you can kind of think about this, it's the most mountainous, or maybe the second most mountainous island in the world. And I just don't think this is something that a lot of people appreciate about Taiwan as a country. It has something like, it's like 250 mountains over 10,000 feet tall, right? It is extremely mountainous. I'm from Appalachia originally. I mean, we're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 foot mountains, and that's enough to define a culture and history and an identity for a whole group of people, right? What I think is interesting about the mountains of Taiwan is they are, by and large, as I understand it, rain-eroded mountains. I've actually camped and hiked and backpacked in Taiwan, and I would say the central range of the Taiwanese mountains is the most rugged place I've ever been. And I'm including the Rockies, the Cascades, I'm including the Himalayas, I'm including the Pamir Mountains in between Pakistan and China, the Alps. Nothing really compares to what we're talking about in Taiwan because the degree of erosion is so extreme because the mountains are so tall and the weather is so rainy and there's just so much rainfall. It's really an extreme relief on all these mountains. So from personal experience, I would say outside of probably the rainforest mountains on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, these are really the steepest and most rugged mountains that you can find in the world. I spent a few nights backpacking out Route 20 on the south side of the island. It's one of basically, I think, two major highways that run across the island, and actually at that time that Route 20 was split by a giant landslide. We were climbing a mountain called Shangyangshan, and every night we were camped out there at the station and then further on into the mountains, you would hear hundreds, dozens, maybe even hundreds of landslides over that period of time. I've never experienced anything like it. You just hear it all through the night, the soil moving somewhere off in the valley. It was truly incredible. These are extremely rugged mountains. So while the sort of this porcupine theory that some people talk about and the Fortress Taiwan idea, these are really defense in depth concepts that kind of propose contestation of multi-domain space, right? Air, land, and sea space at different layers or different levels. It's interesting to me that people don't talk as much about the degree to which Taiwan might rely on this mountain chain, the central mountain chain, as a staging ground to resist a Chinese invasion. And it's just one more layer of, hey, would be an extremely difficult operation to pull off. You have to get across the Taiwan Strait, and then you would have to engage in urban combat if you were able to land troops. And then, of course, from that point, there's nothing stopping them from falling back into the mountains as well. And you can find some information about this online. There's the Taitung Air Force Base. There's the Chashan Complex, which is, I think, in Hualien. And then there's the Hengshan Defense Command, which is in the Dazi region. So obviously, I don't have a complete list of what these facilities might be, but I would bet that the Taiwanese have been emphasizing building these kinds of facilities, looking at countries like, for example, Switzerland, where they've really been able to leverage their physical geography for their own self-defense. This really is a different deal than what we see in Ukraine, right? We don't have that kind of flat topography, and I think this is just one more challenge that needs to be internalized by the People's Liberation Army and the PRC in general, right? In terms of trying to make this assessment of, can we actually do this, and what are the prospects of doing it quickly? These extremely mountainous, extremely rugged areas could potentially be holdouts for many years. So just a quick hitter today. I wanted to kind of put this idea out there. I haven't seen it around that much, and having been to these mountains myself and experienced just how insanely rugged they really are, I wanted to kind of introduce this idea and see if anybody had any comments or thoughts about it. And thanks. I appreciate you watching the video.